Ladies and gents, welcome to yet another episode of What's Next podcast. Not sure what number episode this is because we're racking it up, but I know it's going to be another good one. We got a very, very special guest, Mr. Cameron Mills, the one and only NCAA champ. I'm sitting across another NCAA champ once again, ladies and gents. So
Who are the other ones?
20 Beckham on. Last episode before the last one had him on.
Fair enough.
So you're the second NCAA champion, but you're two-time. So
See, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to remind you.
I'll say it for you.
I didn't want to remind you that 20 only has one.
No, I'll say it for you.
I have two. But to be fair, I got. Hey, buddy.
What's
babe.
up, Bub?
Babe.
What's up, Bub? We got a dog on set.
Babe, we got a dog on set.
He's got. Let's see. You got two.
Yeah, I got
Ronnie's
two.
one.
Let me. Are we talking about dogs or are we talking about national
We're talking about
champions? Champs, all right. So, yeah. So we're gonna keep rolling then, which I hope we do.
No, yeah.
Let me explain.
This is natural. That's how we do it.
This is dog
on What's
one.
Next.
All right, I like that. This is the old dog. We got a new dog, which is why the old dog is now in here because we think he's got kennel cough, so we've had to quarantine both dogs. One of them's 9 weeks old. This has not been a fun day.
Puppy, first day bringing home the puppy is always a rough one, man.
No, this is the first day. This is like we're on a week. Have we had him a week? We've almost had him a week. But he's a puppy, so we like if he has kennel cough, we can't. The little one can't get kennel cough.
Can't get it.
This has been one of the most stressful days of my life. So I'm like, I feel like because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I don't have them. So I'm like, these are my kids.
Yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
like, I got my old one that I've had for 11 years that I love to death. And I got my new one that I love to death. And I'm like, okay, I can't have my old one get my new one sick. And I mean, I have been a mess. And Susan looks at me. She's like, well, what do you think it's like when you have a real kid? I'm like, well, it's not gonna matter.
That won't happen.
I got Alex, my stepson, and I'm like, I get it. My mom's worried about me every day of the week.
Yeah.
And I keep showing her in the Bible, babe, the Lord says not to worry.
Don't worry.
Or Mom, the Lord says not to worry. She goes, wait till you have kids. I get it today.
Now you got the feeling, Cameron.
Today, I have had a piece of it. Yep, absolutely.
You got the feeling, man. First off, before we even get into things, man, I just want to thank you for, providing us this opportunity to be able to talk with you, have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
It's an honor for me. I'm a fan, especially when I see you on TV.
How old are you?
24.
How can you be a fan?
I'm a fan, man.
You weren't even born when I was playing.
I'm a fan because you're a part of the Kentucky culture, man.
All right, that's fair.
So a lot of people. That's why I'm glad we're having this conversation.
All right, fair enough.
Now my audience get to know, what you're about.
Yeah.
Before the John Walls, before all that, we had the Cameron Mills.
Yeah, I didn't have a dance.
The Derek Andersons.
I didn't have a dance. Yeah. No, we didn't have dances when I played. Or we weren't encouraged to have them anyway.
That's okay, though. That's okay, man. But like I said, man, I'm happy to have you on. I'm excited. It's an honor because I always see you on TV. I hear so much about you. And it's just an honor to be able to sit across from you.
Man.
So let's get.
Well, to be fair, I've heard a lot about you too. Honestly, all of it came.
Let's not compare.
No, we can't. No, stop it. Stop being humble. Because the blonde in there that I'm married to, she's like, dude, Cameron, you got to be on this guy's
Thank you, Susan.
podcast. She did.
Shout out to Susan.
Yeah.
She's killing it.
She was like, you got to be on this guy's podcast. I said, okay.
Well, we're doing it, man. We're doing it. Let's get into it, man. First, let's start off. You're a Lexington guy. Went to Dunbar High School.
Yep.
You're still here in Lexington, which is special, man. You get to see the city develop and see, your impact on the city as a whole. Your dad also played for University of Kentucky, so that's special. Talk a little bit about what that was, growing up and having pops play for Kentucky. Little do you know that you're going to be in that same jersey, a few years later.
I didn't. It was third grade before I really understood that he played at Kentucky, which is weird because I knew he did.
Yeah.
But I didn't even, and I was a Kentucky fan, but it wasn't until third grade that I put the two together. And it all came from a third grade project where my third grade teacher said, okay, we're going to do a collage, a poster collage, because you don't write anything in third grade. You don't do essays, you do collages. So we're doing a collage of your hero.
Yeah.
And I go home and I'm like, my hero, basketball-wise, or really in general, eventually became Magic Johnson.
Okay.
Because of the weapons. You know what the weapons are?
No, what's the weapon?
You're 24. So I'm going to say 1988, 87, Cons, of all shoes, came out with a pair of green and black Larry Birds and a pair of purple and gold Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
And even though I spent most of my life in Lexington, I grew up in Somerset.
Okay.
And I was a Briar jumper.
Okay.
And Somerset High School, Somerset Middle School, or Meese Middle Schools, and then Hopkins Elementary, all of them, it's a small independent school system. They are purple and gold. So when Magic Johnson came out, or Cons came out with the purple and gold Cons, I was like, those are my shoes. I gotta have them. And Magic's my guy. So he became my hero later, but before that project, I was like, I don't know and all my classmates were picking celebrities. So I thought, okay, well, celebrity, or heroes are clearly celebrities. And I get home and I'm like, I'm telling my mom I don't know what to do. And she goes, "What about your dad?" And I'm like, "What about him?" Which is weird because now I'm like, that's who your hero should be. Your hero should be your dad, right?
Yeah, facts.
And it's so. She started getting out all these, and honestly, a lot of them are downstairs in the basement still. All these old newspaper clippings from 1967, 1968, from the Herald Leader, from the Courier Journal, of pictures of Dad in his uniform. One great picture I'll never forget where, and I've even seen the video when it happened, where it looks like Pistol Pete Maravich is kicking him in the face.
Okay.
Because Dad slapped down as he went up for a shot, and his legs went up, and it didn't kick him. But it looked like it did. It kind of
looked like it.
Yeah. And I'm like, and then I'm like, well, who's this guy? And then Mom went through the whole Pistol Pete Maravich thing, and I'm like,
Pistol Pete.
Yeah. Oh, and that's so Dad's claim to fame is that he held the pistol to 63 points a game.
Oh yeah.
Shut him down.
Lockdown.
Yep. So anyway, I'm questioning all these things, and I'm starting to see all these articles, like some old UK basketball yearbooks or programs for basketball games, and all of a sudden it just kind of all gelled. So Dad played at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Why did that never occur to me before? So I did the collage, and at that point, that's when I was like, all right, this is my dream. I want to play. I want to play at Kentucky, and it got to the point where I wanted to do it so bad that two things happened. Number one, I turned down a full ride to Georgia.
Correct.
Which it may not be a basketball school. It's still SEC D1.
Exactly.
Right. And so I turned down a full ride there to walk on Kentucky, in spite of the fact that Kentucky did not want me. I mean, they weren't like, no, go away. But it was like they weren't recruiting me. And so it was like, but I want to come here. And so thankfully, Coach Pitino's attitude was like, because he had seen me play in his camp a couple of years. And he's like, look, if you want to come here, I'm not going to give you a scholarship. Because, I mean, he didn't say this, but it's like, you don't deserve one. But you can be on the team. You live in a lodge. And I remember, and this kind of became a big thing about 2023, about 7 years ago when we had the 20-year anniversary of the '96 championship.
Yeah.
Coach and literally 14 of the 15 guys on that team went to Miami Beach with Coach Pitino, and we had a 3-day, like this amazing weekend.
That's awesome.
And honestly, you hear Miami Beach and you think parties and this, that, and that. It wasn't that. It was, we spent 3 days in this beautiful place playing golf and laughing hysterically at things that were not funny when they happened, but they are hysterically funny now.
That's the best part.
Yeah, it is. It honestly is. It's why every time we have a reunion, and we've had maybe 2.5, 3. UK gave us the 96, 97, 98 one last year. The 98 team had one during the Maker's Mark bottle signings for the 98 team. The 96 team did this. The 96 team did one in Miami Beach. So we've had 3. And every time we do it, it's like, why aren't we doing this every year? Because literally we leave and our sides hurt. Because we're laughing hysterically at the stupid things we did. And I don't mean like stupid things like, well, we went out partying for a game. Yeah. Though there were some of my teammates that did do that. It was just the things that got us in trouble with Coach P or Coach Smith that... Or just times that they yelled at us, things they said to us at the time.
Best. That's the best moments, man. Then the moment you're like, oh, it's probably bad in the moment. When you look back at it,
it's exactly
it's so funny. It's like, oh my
goodness.
Because
in the moment you're terrified.
Yeah.
So and that's the reason I was terrified. Is Coach P literally is looking at me and like he says you can walk on. I'm like, all right, I'm in. And then he tries to somewhat talk me out of it. He's like, aren't you sure? Like, look. You're never going to play here. Don't you want to go somewhere like Georgia wants you? Yeah. I don't want you. He didn't say it, but he implied it. I don't want you. You're not going to play here. And I'm like, Coach, if I get to go to this school and I get to play on this team for 4 years and I get to wear my dad's number and I get, with a Kentucky across the front, Mills on the back. I mean, that really.
Looking at it, ladies and gents.
So, I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted that jersey. And I got like 18 of them downstairs now. Yeah. That's all I wanted. And to me, that was enough. But one of the things that I'm incredibly thankful for, and sadly, I did not realize this until the 2016 20-year reunion in 2016.
Yeah.
Because I spent 3 or 4 days with my teammates and with Coach Pitino when he was turned off, meaning he never turned off. He was like, you have some coaches in, I'm sure at every level.
Yeah.
Where they are in your face on the court. And the moment you walk off the court, whether it's a game or a practice,
They relax a little bit.
Relax.
Oh, okay.
Coach P is never like that. There's never relaxing. He is intense. I mean, it is like it literally on the team bus. Like when he would come over to the lodge, which was rarely. Like immediately, like the whisper warning started filtering throughout the lodge. Like, Coach is here. You better straighten up your room. Like it's that kind of stuff. But anyway, it got to the point where he says, "You're never going to play here," and I said, "That's fine." And one of the things I am most thankful for is that he had bigger dreams for me than I did.
Oh wow!
But I didn't realize that until 2016. Because here's the deal. He could have, there's no guarantee he was ever going to get anything out of me. He didn't expect anything out of me, right? He literally told me, you will not play here.
Right.
Don't you want to go somewhere where you're going to play?
Exactly.
And I said, no, I just want to be on the team. And yet for the next 3 years, because I didn't have him in fourth year, that's when he left for Boston and Coach Smith came in. But for 3 years, he yelled at me and coached me the way he did his McDonald's All-Americans. And at the time, I hated him for that. I hated it. Because nobody likes to be yelled at.
Yeah.
But the thing I learned my freshman year especially is that there is literally no such thing as constructive criticism. Actually, I take that back. I said it backwards. All criticism is constructive. All of it. Because if you said something to me and your goal was to hurt my feelings, right? Yeah. You wanted, like, there was something vindictive about you, or let's reverse it. There's something I wanted to say to you that was vindictive, like I want to hurt you, okay? Yeah. Doesn't mean it's not true. Mm-hmm. So even though my motives may be to hurt you, your responsibility, or my responsibility, if you're saying something to me, is to say, don't like the way it was said, don't even like the dude that said it. Doesn't mean I shouldn't own it. Because I may be 48 right now, but I need a parent/coach, and I will the rest of my life. Yeah. And I learned that under Rick Pitino, who treated me the same way he treated his All-Americans. And what bothers me is it took me 20 years to realize that. Because on that reunion is when I'm looking around at guys that spent, there had to be at least 11 guys that had NBA careers of some merit. Yeah. And I'm like, I played with these jokers. And we not only won one national championship, but with most of these guys, we got to the Final Four and the final game the next year and almost won the second, what would have been the second, got beat by Arizona, and then went back under Tubby and won the third. All because of incredible coaches who knew what coaching was, which is, I don't have time to be nice to you. We got 3 hours. The NCAA puts rules on the amount of time we can practice. I don't have time to be nice. I got to get my point across, and I don't even think that's the most important thing. I think the most important thing is don't take it personally. Criticism is criticism, coaching, teaching, whatever word you want to put to it. It is the most valuable thing in the world, no matter how old you are. Yeah. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I'm in full-time ministry now, right? Yeah. 3 of the best sermons I've ever preached in my life, I preached with my fly down. That's not a great situation.
What do you mean, camera?
I preached with my fly down. You don't understand what I'm saying? Why is that? Why do you need explanation on that? I am on a stage.
I wasn't sure what I was.
I'm on a stage in front of 1,000 kids, 1,000 teenagers one time, giving it my all. Yeah. I'm preaching hard. I'm sweating.
When did you notice it was down?
I didn't. And that's the problem. Because I know the guy who invited me to speak is a friend of mine, and I know he saw, because he prayed with me before I went up there, and I'm like, surely he saw that my fly was down. But did he love me enough to tell me? Because look, I get it. It would have been embarrassing for both of us, right? Because I've had moments where I'm like, oh, you idiot, zip up. But if he had told me before I got on stage, what would have been more embarrassing? Realizing it after you got done preaching what you thought was one of your greatest sermons ever, or backstage when he could have said, dude, zip up. It's happened 3 times in my life, and it's like that lesson is like one of the most powerful to me. It's one of the most powerful lessons where I'm like,
come on,
I gotta have somebody love me enough to tell me when I'm being an idiot. And that blonde
that's
in there,
true, though.
that blonde in there,
there you go.
That's who she is right now.
Yeah.
I got my mom and dad still with me who still do it, and that blonde in there does it. That's why I love her.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
And that's what bothers me. That's why I say the phrase constructive criticism bothers me, because it's all constructive. If you want to hurt me, hurt me. It doesn't mean what you say isn't valuable to me. And somebody said it to me this way. Say, look, my responsibility when someone shares something with me, whether I think they're trying to hurt me or maybe they're not, but I think they are, my responsibility is to eat the grass and spit out the sticks. So I've got to take it in. I don't have to keep it in. I got to take it in and ask myself and be honest and be self-aware. Is this true for me? If it's not true for me, spit it out. But if it's true for me, I better digest it, and I better change.
I don't know if you ever heard of this saying, Cameron. It's my brother always used to tell me, especially because I used to play basketball in high school. And, you know, whenever coaches would yell or anything like that, he would always say, "Hear the volume." How'd it go? Don't hear the volume.
Don't hear the volume.
Hear the message.
That's right. Your brother's a wise man.
I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of get that.
Where'd you play ball?
I played in Florida, Daytona Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
But he'd always tell me that, and I was like, okay. I carry that with me anywhere I go.
So do I.
Constructive criticism. So it's like.
So do I. It's like I get frustrated when people who have the attitude of, and it's an overall attitude of, look, that's just who I am. You better get used to it. What kind of attitude is that? That's just who I am. And look, sometimes it might be true for you, and sometimes maybe it is truly just who you are, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, maybe it's something you might want to change about yourself.
Yeah, you gotta reflect.
Because it's just ego.
Look at yourself, man.
It's just ego. Yeah. So one of the things about Susan that I fell in love with first is that she and I, on our first date, and it's so funny, we had 2 friends basically try to force us together, and though we are very, very thankful that they did, they had very little, what's the word? They weren't gentle in forcing.
They didn't care. They
were obnoxious about it. And I got stories to tell.
They saw something, man. They did,
and they saw something pretty accurate. But Susan and I were like, all right, look, because they were so obnoxious about every time, and they meant well, but they were like, look, if we don't get, if Susan's the one that initiated with me, she says, if we don't get together without them, we're going to hate each other. Yeah. And so we went to dinner one night, and I consider this our first date. She doesn't. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
But on that first date, here's what happened. Because neither one of us were trying to impress each other, we got all of our garbage out on the table. It's like we were trying to, here's why you don't want me. Bam, 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 bam,
Perfect way to do it.
You think you want to live with this? And at the end of the date, as I consider it, at the end of the date, I'm like, I didn't hear any non-negotiables in that. I didn't hear a single thing she said that I'm like, I can't. But I can live with that.
I can do that.
And she didn't hear anything. And it wasn't that, look, we both got some baggage. We both do. Yeah. And so to get all of that baggage, that's not a first date. First date, you're trying to impress somebody.
Absolutely.
We were trying to unimpress each other. Like, let me tell you why you're wasting your time. And instead, we walk away from that date, or, well, again, I consider it a date. And I texted her the next morning, and I said, listen, I had a great time with you last night. And I remember her telling me, she goes, it's not how I thought it was going to go either. Because I think she said this, she thought I was going to spend the whole time, because she thought I was a Kentucky basketball player that wanted to, let me tell you about my rings. And I don't really do that. I know we're sitting in front of all this nonsense right now.
You don't but I don't give off that energy though.
No, because honestly, here's the thing. It's not that it's not important to me. It's not that I don't realize how important it is to the state. But once you've been through it and on the other side of the wall, and you see that, look, these are just, right now, we got 15 guys on this team that are literally, most of them, 18-year-old boys.
Young.
18-year-old boys.
Young.
They're going to make 18-year-old mistakes on and off the court. And, man, don't get on them. I mean, look, they got a coach to get on them. We don't need fans. We don't need to get on them. And the funny thing about that is the only thing I consider myself available to do, with my job with JMI and the UK Sports Network, is I've never been a coach.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair for me to criticize Coach Calipari.
You ever thought about coaching?
I thought about it briefly. I don't love the game enough to make it my life.
Really? Okay.
No. I'd rather do photography. I'd rather be
behind the camera.
Not yet. Oh, I definitely love doing that, especially when it's just playing. Because I'm not artistic. I can't draw anything. Susan can. She's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
But when I can be creative, it's taking 3,000 pictures and finding that one where, oh, that's good.
Okay.
I can put some filters on that. That'll be really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just not creative. She is, and it's just one of those things where I don't know. I just love the fact that the two of us found each other when we were 46. She was 45, and we tried to chase each other away by being honest about our baggage, and then our baggage didn't scare each other away. And I think in some sense it was like, okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. Because neither of us were looking for anybody. Yeah. And doggone it, if my mom wasn't right when she said it's when you're not looking that you'll find them.
Find somebody.
That's what happened.
I love that story, man. That's like you forcing it. It's like it's meant to be. It's meant to be. Nothing you can really do about it, man. I know you talked a little bit about the 18-year-old kids that we have today. On this year's team, talented team, very talented. Look like they're going to do something special. I kind of want to get to know what are your thoughts as a former champion. What do you think about the upcoming team this year?
I love them. I love them because of the way they play. I was fortunate enough with doing the UK network. I got to sit down with literally every single guy, and even when Zvonimir Ivizic,
Big Z.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, did I say his last name right? Because I know I had it down before, but he's kind of been out of the loop for a while, so I'm like, did I get it right? But I even got to sit down with him like 2 or 3 weeks later. So I'm sitting down with all these guys, and Aaron Bradshaw's a perfect example. Yeah. So Aaron is 18. At the time, he was injured, right? I mean, because we just got him back. And Aaron sits down. Aaron's 7'1". He sits down in this chair, and it was like one of these high back chairs in the locker room at UK. And he's sitting down. He's like
hunched over.
Yeah, he's like, just relax as I'll get out. He's got the mic because we had microphones in his hand. He's like the mic like this. I'm like, dude, somebody teach you how to hold a microphone. He's like this the whole time. He sits down, and we start talking. And we start talking about his mom. Because his mom is a huge influence in his life, and he's talking about, man, I do everything for my mom. That was a cool story to hear, and a lot of the guys shared that. I mean, and that's another thing that makes these guys cool is that a lot of them have parents, like Reed, both parents. Aduthiero has his mom. Aaron has his mom, and Aaron plays for his mom. Adu had a mom play basketball, so you had a lot of guys with parents that played basketball. Yeah. But I'm sitting down with Aaron, and I'm like. He starts talking about, because all the guys talked about how close they were. And you think
they seem close too. Yeah, they seem close.
But that's the thing, is that I've seen teams that talk about being close. And even as I'm interviewing all these guys, they're talking about being close. I'm like, okay, I get it. But, and this is what I'm thinking in my head. It's all nice and well to talk about how close you are before you played your first game. Because as I'm thinking, the moment you lose, are you going to be close? Or are you going to be at each other's throats? Are you going to be? Are you going to grow closer, or is that going to tear you apart? You're going to start blaming each other.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting down with Aaron, and Aaron literally says, because I mentioned to him, I said, "Dude, I've talked to just because he was one of the last ones. I've talked to just about all your teammates.
All the teammates.
They all talk about how close you guys are." He said, "Yeah, man." He goes, "We're incredibly close." He goes, "But you know what?" He goes, "Are we going to be close after our first loss?"
Ooh.
And I froze. I'm trying to be a professional interviewer here, which I'm not, right? I'm not. I mean, I'm barely holding the mic the right way. And I'm like,
what'd you just say?
Wait a minute, man. What? He said, he repeated, when we lose our first game. And I said, Aaron, you realize you're playing in a place filled with a lot of people that love you and love this team. They don't expect you to lose a game. He said, psst. Come on, man. This is basketball. He said, you can't guarantee you're going to win every game. Wow. He said, so when we lose our first game, and he goes, and we will. He goes, when we lose our first game, he goes, are we going to be tight then? And I'm like, dude, are you 50? You're not 18. I said, you've got the maturity of a 50-year-old. And the funniest thing is, here's the funniest thing. Over the course of his injury, when, what did we play, 8 games without him? Yeah. He would come out. He would have a smile on his face. He would be coaching some of his teammates during pregame warmups, and I'm like, dude, I love this guy. Because he's just got this positive energy, and he talked about that. But it's one thing to talk about it, it's something else to let people see it. You know, it's like Oscar Tshiebwe last 2 years, I guess. Oscar developed this reputation. Everybody talked about it, but the moment you went to a Rupp game and you saw Oscar be Oscar, you were like, dang, he's the real deal. And he was. And so is Aaron. And the cool thing is, I feel like you got so many egos on this team, they shouldn't be getting along. Somehow they do.
They do.
Somehow they do. We've lost 2 games, and it hadn't hurt us. If nothing else, we rebounded the next game, and then we beat Carolina the other day. Now, I'm terrified about the Louisville game just because, I know they're not great, but they're still Louisville. It's still Louisville. It'd be crazy things have happened in Louisville games. I mean, look, the 4 years I played, we went to 3 Final Fours. Yeah. We beat Indiana 4 years in a row. We went 2-2 against Louisville. And one of those years, they finished the season 14-20. They were a losing record team, and they beat us at home at Rupp. Crazy things happen in that rivalry. So I'm worried about the Louisville game. I'm not, but I am. It's like I feel like we should handle them, but I'm like,
don't count them out. Don't count them out. Don't count them out. Yeah. I want to take a trip back down memory lane. A lot of people don't know you do hold the record for 3-point field goal percentage
for a career season. I used to have both, and then Deron Land came around and played 2 years and took one from me by like 0.2 of a point. I love him, but I hate him for that reason. Come on. There are these people that say, listen, hey, no, listen, it's all right. Records are made to be broken. Yep. When you only have 2 and you're a slow-footed white guy, come on, man. You're holding on to your records. When somebody takes one from
have that one.
I get it. No, you're right. When Deron took it, I'm like,
come on.
Just happy for him, right? I'm thinking, that son of a... no.
Man.
Played for 2 years. I played for 4. Still beat me.
What do you, how does it feel to have that record, though? Like what does that mean to you? It means significant.
It means a lot, actually, because I never thought I'd have that. I never thought I'd have a record. I literally expected to sit the bench for 4 years. I was prepared to do that. I knew I wasn't good enough to be here. Fortunately, I had a coach who made me good enough to be here. Made me good enough to at least be in the game when it counted. To be prepared to always look. You don't know when I'm going to call on you. You don't. I mean, there was a rumor. And it's weird that I called it a rumor. There was a rumor my freshman year when I was literally playing like when we were up 40 with 1:05 left to go.
Yeah, subbing in.
And Winston Bennett, who was one of our assistant coaches, comes to me before we're going to replace Syracuse. I think this is early in the season, so it wasn't the '96 Syracuse game. It was like '95 Syracuse game. He comes to me. He says, "Listen, we had coaches meeting today." And because Syracuse constantly plays that 2-3 zone, right?
Yeah, they still do.
Exactly. And so, there's a way you beat a zone, and that's you put your shooters on the court, and you hope they light up. Yeah. So Coach P got in his head that, well, I mean, we got shooters on this team, but I know one that we're not using. And so Winston Bennett comes to me and goes, "Coach is thinking about starting you." I look at Coach Bennett, and I'm like, yeah, right. He goes, no, listen. And then Coach Bennett says this. And then Coach Bennett says, we talked him out of it, but just be prepared. If he put, just don't be surprised if he puts you in the first half. So that record in and of itself, but when I had both of them, it meant a lot. Just still having one means a lot. And I'll probably lose. Honestly, the way this team's shooting threes this year, I may lose that one this year to one of these guys. I mean, Reed's technically beating me right now. He's shooting like 62% for his career, even though it's only 1 year.
He's special.
But here's the thing, they all are. Reed is because now he's special to me because his dad and I are so close. Yeah. We're closer now than we were when we played, which is fun. And we were close when we played, but it's like now we're adults. Is
it weird to see like his kids play?
It's not weird, but it's fun weird. Yeah. It's like that's so because when I'm it's like okay. So a few games this year at the beginning of the season, I got to do color commentating on the SEC Network Plus. Right.
Okay.
So me and Darren Hedrick, and I want to say, and Dick Gabriel, and I did the blue-white game, and then I think Darren Hedrick and I did 3 early season games on SEC Network Plus. And so I'm sitting on that side, I'm across the other side, 5 rows up are Jeff and Stacy Reed. And I'm just sitting there watching them cheer for Reed, and I'm like, this is so weird. I'm calling a game for UK, and Reed, who I've known since he was this tall.
Crazy
Reed's out
how
there
things-
not only playing, he's like, there are people saying he's the best freshman in the country. And I'm like, oh. And I love the idea, too, that all the UK fans, and I get it, because I probably felt this way, too. We're going to have Reed for about 4 years. I don't know if we're going to have Reed 4 years. He might be a one and done. NIL may help, but look, if you're Reed's parents and Reed's had a chance to go, what are you telling him to do? There's a difference in $2 million and $3 million.
Yeah.
There's a whole million.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, it's weird though. I bet you're in a strange situation. Just looking at it, Jeff's your teammate. Mm-hmm. Then you see his kids out here killing it.
Well, what's fun is watching he and Stacy cheer because they are. I mean,
they're into it. Stacy, Stacy's into it.
They're maniacs. Yeah. I mean, and the funny thing is, Jeff's told me for years because I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to be down in London. When Reed was like in middle school and high school, I'm going to be down in London. Yeah. I see Reed's playing a game. I'm going to come. Reed's like, Ken, you don't want to see me during a game. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, no. He goes, I'm not myself during a game. I'm yelling at officials. I'm yelling at Reed. I'm yelling at everybody. Yeah. And what's funny is just watching now, I'm like, dude, it's not you. It's Stacy. Stacy's the maniac. I mean,
is it rubbing off?
The reality is they're both like so into it, and it's so much fun to watch them because they're cheering with their heart for their son. Yeah. And it makes me wonder because I have no video of this. But what were my parents like when I was playing? Because it was the same kind of thing.
There you go.
And it makes me wonder because it's like when we won the '98 championship in San Antonio, I celebrated with my teammates, and you know how these things, you keep celebrating. So if you're on the court for like 35 minutes, you cut the nets down, blah, blah, blah. And at one point it dawned on me, because my parents were about 32 rows up, I knew where they were because I'd seen them before the game started. Yeah. And I thought, I am not here right now on this court winning my second national championship without those two people. It might not be safe security-wise. I don't care. I'm running up there. So I ran up 32 steps. They were in the lower arena. Yeah. Ran up 32 steps, went over about 15 seats and just gave both my parents a hug and just so I don't know what they were like during games. I know what my dad was like during high school games. He wasn't very nice. I mean, not towards me. He would yell at me, especially like if we had a Dunbar game that was quiet, which weren't many, because this is back in the day when like literally if it was Dunbar Bryan Station or Dunbar Tates Creek, there was 4,000 people in the crowd. Especially if it was a Friday night game. But the games went on a Tuesday night when we had a team come in from, 3 hours away. Right. There wouldn't be many people. They're not going to hear everything like that. Everything he said. And he'd be coaching me from up there, and I've got a coach over here. And I'm like, look, I got a coach over here who I love. I got a coach over here who I love. This coach played at Kentucky. This coach who I love, he's really a football coach. He's a great motivator, but he's a football coach. Who the heck am I listening to? He controls my playing time. But yeah, and I don't know. What I love about watching Stacy and Shep play and Shep cheer for Reed is, man, it's just so all positive. It's just all positive, and that's the environment he was raised in, and that's why he's such an amazing kid. Man,
it's the love, the love that the parents have for the kids. It just shows on the
floor. Well, and also I think a lot if you talk to Reed, the things they taught him. Like
big family guy.
Yeah, the whole family is. He's like Aaron. He's like a lot of guys on this team. They are so far mature beyond their years. Yeah. Like Reed played his worst, because Shep's admitted this to me, and I think Reed has as well. Reed played his worst game of his career, his junior year, first game of the Sweet 16. North Laurel won their region. They were playing first round of the SEC or first round of the Sweet 16 at Rupp Arena, and the team they were playing, which I forget who they were playing, just basically triple teamed him the whole day. And they had one little guard, quick, fast little kid, who just gave Reed fits, and Reed played a terrible game. And I felt bad because, I mean, Reed's not my son, but I'm like, I feel like his uncle sometimes. And so I texted Shep and said, man, I know, I don't know how he was feeling, but, sometimes you say that. And then I texted Reed, and I said, listen, I said, I feel like I know what you're feeling. And I said, just turn the page. And I said, and get back to work. And the funny thing was, Jeff told me, like literally the next day, he said he was back in the gym the next day. That only comes with someone who has taught his son and mom, who has taught their son, you can't dwell on losses. You can't dwell on bad games. You turn the page and move on.
Next play.
And his dad was like that in college. And I talk about what I learned from Pitino, what I learned from Tubby, But what I learned from Shep and Alan Edwards, we were the three seniors in 98. 97, I had this great year. That's when I set the record you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I am completely embraced that success because that was the year I literally went from bench warmer to second leading scorer on the team, or third, depending if you're talking to Wayne Turner. Wayne Turner says he was second. I say I was. Whole big thing. But that summer, we're in. I mean, I just embraced, like, all of a sudden I'd arrived. Like, I was scoring points. I was hitting threes at like 65% in the NCAA tournament.
Surprised at the moment, or
at that moment?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Because I had done it in practice constantly.
Okay.
So wasn't surprised that I could do it, but very much was surprised I was doing it in a game and in the NCAA tournament. Like,
bright lights, man.
Yeah. Like, and that's interesting too, because one thing that Coach Pitino definitely did is because everything was consistent. We prepared for the 96 National Championship game the exact same way we prepared for Morehead State at the beginning of that season. Doesn't matter who you're playing.
He prepares the same way.
You do everything the exact same way. We had a 30-page scouting report on Morehead State. We had a 30-page scouting report on Syracuse.
Wow.
Oh, and you were expected to know it too.
I
mean, it was
not playing games.
No, I mean, you just so I was prepared, but all of a sudden I'm on this level and I'm doing it. That's how he prepares you. Is that you don't know what I'm gonna put you in.
Biggest differences between Pitino and Tubby.
Tubby can turn it off the court.
Pitino can't.
Pitino, I don't know if he can't or he won't, but he doesn't. He doesn't. And I think he'd be the first one to tell you he doesn't. Because I think there's a method to quote unquote the madness, and that is, and I don't know if it goes this deep, but I know how it worked with me, and I feel like it's how it worked with a lot of my teammates. You were to be on your toes at all time, because the thing was, when you're off the court and you think, all right, I can relax. It's like I said earlier, you don't know who's going to show up at the lodge. And the thing is that if he's railing at a teammate, right, in the locker room, in the practice locker room, Memorial Coliseum,
right.
In the basement of the lodge watching film, if I'm sitting next to one of my teammates and he is down their throat, I'm slightly scooting away, because if he sees me out of his peripheral vision, he's going to remember something I did 3 weeks ago and bring it up. And I'm like, it's just like, all right, just keep your head down. Don't let him see you, because if he sees you, it's gonna come up.
Over.
It's gonna come up, and he's gonna rip into you.
Yeah.
And he did that. He did that so many times. And again, when it's your teammates having it too, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
The moment it happens
To you, it's not funny anymore.
No, not then. Now it's hysterical, and that's when we all get together. That's the stories that come out. You remember that time that he said this to you? And you got terrified. You wanted to quit.
That's the best part.
It
laughing
is.
about it in the future.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. It really is.
Man, I want to ask you about a shot you made, a very big shot you made in the NCAA tournament versus Duke.
Not as big as you think it was, but okay.
Walk me through your mindset. I know when you get it, you just shoot it. You don't even think about it. But the significance of it,
no, you just answer it perfectly. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
You do not think about it at all. And that goes back to, by the time I hit that shot, I had literally, and I calculated it one time, and I think my math is right, because I had a rule with my dad when I told him I wanted to play college basketball. His rule was, and this is because he had played college basketball, I get home from school at 3, he gets home from work at 5. That's 2 hours. In that 2 hours, I can do my homework, or I can go for a 2-mile jog and get up 500 jump shots. That was the rule. Then I go to Kentucky, and all of a sudden, that's not the rule. I mean, that is the rule. That's like the mandate. Like, you will get up 500 jump shots a day. And the difference is that in high school, I'd get up 500 jump shots in an hour and a half. At UK, you're going full speed, and you get up 500 jump shots literally in 42 minutes. And it was down to specifically 42 minutes. Our individual instructions. Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Because legs are the first ones to go. And that's why when you see players struggling to hit their threes that are great three-point shooters, you'll hear coaches yell, shoot with your legs. Because that's usually the first thing that gets tired. Because you're playing defense, squatted down. I mean, it's all legs. It's all, there is no, it's like that constant joke of, like guys that are into weights, like there's no such thing as leg day. Not in college sports. There's leg day every day. Every day there's leg day. So that shot, The reason I say it wasn't big. Now it sounds silly because I got a picture of it right there.
Yeah. I was actually looking.
I got a picture right there. But I have a picture of it because a Sports Illustrated photographer.
It's a cool picture, by the way. Yeah.
Well, what I love about it is all 10 players on the court. Over in the far left-hand corner, you see Tubby's hand up, where he's holding up like he knows it's going.
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
So I love that, and I love my teammates down here. And then I love if you look in the media, Mike Wilbon is in there.
Oh wow!
There's like 2 or 3 guys that are like national. I want to say Bob Ryan from the Boston Globe's in there.
Right.
So you got like national media in there. So, but that picture came from a Sports Illustrated photographer who had most likely a Canon, stuck up in the rafters, and he had it on a remote trigger. So he caught it right at the apex of my shot.
That's a cool photo, man.
But, and this is what I always remind people of because it's fair, is that gave us the lead for the first time in the game, and that capped this 17-point comeback in the last 9.5 minutes of the game. So that gave us the lead. Now, here's the thing. The very next possession, dude comes right back, takes the lead from us. I go out of the game for the rest of the game. And if it wasn't for Scott Padgett hitting a 3 from the exact same spot with 44 seconds left,
right,
nobody remembers that shot. Because Scott's shot sealed the game. My shot gave us the lead. It gave us the lead.
You sparked it.
But they came right back and took the lead from us. And it kept off the comeback, fine. Yeah. But Scott's shot made sure my shot mattered. And there's no picture of Scott's shot like this.
No.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'll take credit for that. And I'll sell that thing.
Do that one.
I'll make some money off of it. But Scott's shot mattered more.
Talk about, now, amazing college career, Cameron. Transition to playing overseas in Europe.
Didn't.
Did it?
No.
Okay, well.
Shep did.
Okay.
And a lot of my, I'm trying to think of how many of my teammates did. Well, no, I did. So Shimu Evans did. I want to say Allen Edwards might have. Wayne Turner might have. I know Shep did. And then you had guys like Nazi, Antoine Walker, Ron Mercer. I mean, they all played in the league. I didn't. As a matter of fact, I got one letter from a scout. That just the fact that it was just one letter from one scout, that seems suspicious. So I'm like, I don't know if I can trust this guy.
Yeah.
No fault to this guy. I'm like, well, I get one. Probably not the best one, right? And the reality was, since I was 12 years old, I felt called to ministry. And my freshman year, because Coach P was so hard, and because even though I sit here and talk about, no constructive criticism is all, I didn't know that my freshman year. And that takes time to learn. It's exactly what your brother told you. Is that don't listen to the volume, listen to what's said. I didn't know that my freshman year. It took me a year to learn that. And for other teammates with seniority to tell me the exact same thing your brother told you. Do not listen to how he says it. Listen to what he says. Because as much as it seems like he hates your guts and is going to kill you after practice, he's not. He's not. He is just trying to communicate with you as fast and as loud as he can what you're doing wrong, and your job is to correct it. So I didn't play well my freshman year. That it was so hard that I almost quit 5 times because I lived here in Lexington. Yeah. I lived in this part of Lexington where I live now. From the lodge to my house was where my mom and dad lived was 4 or 5 miles. And I probably went home 5 times my freshman year begging them to let me quit. To let me quit. And mom, being mom, was like, oh, my poor pixie baby. Not dad. Because dad would sit me down and tell me Adolph Rupp stories. Because I thought I had it bad with Coach Pitino. And I'm listening to him tell Adolph Rupp stories. I'm like, oh, okay. So you get it, why I want to quit, right? So you should be empathizing with me and you're not. But anyway, I tried to quit. And the question was, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to go to Asbury. Because I knew I was going to, since 12 years old, my faith mattered to me, Christ mattered to me, and I wanted to share it with other people. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Asbury. I'm going to learn how to be a youth pastor. That was my plan, or my secondary plan, I guess. And they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me do that. They wouldn't let me quit UK. And obviously now, I'm incredibly thankful that they didn't let me quit. But once UK was done, I knew what I was supposed to do. And I'm not saying that if I'd had the opportunity to go to the league or, an Italian team or,
right.
If they had offered me, some ridiculous amount of, tax-free money, which is what they do in Europe, I'm not saying I wouldn't have gone. I'm just saying that I didn't have the chance to. And I had literally May of 1998. So what's that, a month? Yeah, a month after my career ended. A month after my career ended, I had a board of directors. I had a nonprofit 501c3 set up called Cameron Mills Ministries. And because I'd been on such successful teams, and then because I'd been open about my faith, I literally, and this is not exaggeration, because it's my mom's fault, because she couldn't say no to anybody. I literally was speaking somewhere in this country, a lot of it in Kentucky, every day for 2 years. To the point where, at the end of that 2 years, I started hating ministry.
Really?
I hated it. I mean,
why? Was it too much?
No, I just got, I just got tired of it. It was all I did. Because there was a part of me that's like, strike while the iron's hot, man. Nobody's going to care about you in 25 years. Nobody's going to care about your UK connection. And nobody's going to be inviting you to come speak. Now, that hadn't exactly turned out to be true, because I still get invitations occasionally, just because of the Kentucky thing. But, I mean, it's just one of those things where I didn't expect the UK thing to happen the way it happened. But it gave me a platform to do ministry on a level that I never thought I'd be able to do. And I literally just celebrated this past June, I celebrated 25 years in ministry.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
But it started literally technically started June 3rd of 1998.
What's the best, or I guess the most valuable thing you've learned from, even starting your ministry? Most valuable thing.
The most valuable
that
thing
you can take away from it. Yeah.
Of starting the ministry, and this sounds cliche and like I'm trying to get out of it. Same thing I learned from Coach Pitino. The most valuable thing I feel like I've learned in my life that I can take with me into my marriage, into my ministry, into my job with UK Network, into anything I do, is not only be open to feedback and coaching and correction, but beg for it. Because if I'm playing basketball and my coach does not love me enough or care about me enough to correct me, I continue to make the same mistakes. Same thing our parents do. Well, in ministry, you get up in front of a large group of people. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. And look, ego gets in the way of all this, right? Because no one wants to be told they messed up. Nobody wants to be told they stunk. Yeah. And I probably had a harder time being told that my sermon at a particular time, or my message that particular day, wasn't very good. And the harshest critic was from my mother. My mom was, she would travel with me sometimes. And I remember sometimes, like, a lot of times I would listen to Christian music or worship music. Sometimes I'd listen to Dave Matthews Band. You don't know who that is. No, I don't. Oh, it's embarrassing. Counting Crows? Come on, dude. No. All right, when this is done, I'm going to introduce you to some bands. So I would listen to some secular music. And I remember one time I made a mistake, and Mom was with me. I had Dave Matthews Band playing all the way to the church. And I got out, and according to her, I just was pitiful. And she blamed it on me listening to Dave Matthews Band all the time. And I'm like, okay, maybe it is, Mom. But maybe I was just bad. I said, look, I'm literally doing this every day. Some days I'm on, some days I'm not. But without her, without my dad, without pastors I didn't know, people I didn't know, whether they came to me with love in their heart and sincerity in their heart or not, doesn't mean what they had to tell me didn't matter. Yeah. And I got that from Coach P. It was reiterated in ministry, and it's reiterated today in everything I do. To me, it's one of the most valuable lessons any human being can learn, is that you don't stop learning at 18 or 22. You literally learn more. And you need, because you're no longer in school, you better be begging for it. That's good. Because you're going to eventually, you're going to stop learning, and you're going to get worse at what you do. Or you're never going to be as good as you could be.
How do you talked about like the off days? Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. Yeah. What'd you manage to do to fix those days that you didn't have it? So what was the?
Well, so here's the thing. I think this is fair. I don't know that you can fix them. And that's what hurts. And that's why the correction matters so much, because I'll tell you a story, and usually this is an hour-long story. I'll shorten it for you.
Okay.
And for my wife who's waiting. So I'm speaking. It's one of the times when my fly was down. All right, I'm gonna start it by going there. I'm speaking in Beckley, West Virginia, for a friend of mine who's a youth pastor in Georgia. He's brought his entire youth group up. It's about 200 teenagers. They're going skiing in Beckley. Yeah. But it's a youth trip. It's a church trip, right? You can't just go skiing. You got to have something spiritual. So he brings me in, and I'm going to speak to him Friday night, Saturday morning, and then I think they're gonna drive home. I may have been there Sunday morning too. Right. So I've got, I think 2 or 3 times with them. So Friday night, I get up on stage. I've got 200 kids in front of me. This is what I feel called to do. I'm energetic about it. I love doing it, especially when it's teenagers. And I hit a home run. I mean, and I know it, which, I mean, that's not helpful, but I know it. I am on fire. Right. I am pulling illustrations out of left field that I don't even know if I've ever heard before. I'm remembering scripture that I'm like, oh yeah, that's in there. But it's coming to me in the moment. I am just
killing it.
And I'm literally, I'm killing it. And then I get done. Now my ego takes over. And I'm like, I was a man tonight. But, man, I got to talk to these kids tomorrow morning, and I can't leave them worse. Meaning I can't be worse tomorrow than I was today.
You got to one up it.
Well, yeah. You got to get better, right? And you got to leave them like, well, yeah, he was good the first time. Man, he got worse the second time. No. And again, that's just all ego. So I get up the next morning, and I'm like, man, and this is my thinking. This is my thinking. And this is all ego, but this is my thinking. I don't know if I get any better than that. That's pretty awesome. I get up. My friend introduces me. I get up, and I mean, and I'm not bragging. I was better Saturday morning than I was Friday night. Yeah. If I had a home run Friday night, I had a grand slam Saturday morning. I get off the stage, and again, ego blows up again, because of course it does. I walk to the back of the conference room in the hotel room, and I'm waiting for my friend to get up and pray, dismiss all the kids who I know want to go skiing, but I've been so good, they're actually going to want to come bask in my greatness, right? So he prays, and sure enough, they all turn around, because I'm in the back now, and I'm waiting for them, because I think I'm going to have probably about 50, it's 200 kids, I might have about 50 of them come up and tell me how great I am. They turn around and look for me. Yeah. And I had 50, man. I had all 200 of them climbing over chairs to get back to me, right?
I see you now. Yeah.
But, so I'm back there. And I don't know, you probably, again, you're so young. You probably haven't seen this movie. There's a movie called Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Then there's another one called, I think it's called When Nature Calls. It's Ace Ventura, Pet Detective 2. In that movie, and look, in my generation, we quote stupid movies, right? I don't know if your generation does this, but there's this scene in the movie where, because he's an animal lover and animals love him, and he's standing in front of the jungle and he goes, "Come to me, my jungle friends," and all these animals start flocking to him, and birds landing on his head. Yeah. And that's how I felt. I'm like, "Come to me, my friends. Come bask in my greatness." So here they come. And I mean, I've got all 200 kids now just surrounding me.
Oh, boy.
And the first one to me, though, the closest one to me was, and I could kind of tell, because you kind of learn, all right, these are the kids that maybe get picked on a little bit, even in youth group, right? This is the cool kid, right? So this was the cool kid, right? Because he had the confidence to come up and say something to me. So he comes up. Now, what he says to me, he says loud enough for everybody to hear. And he starts off and he goes, "Dude." And I know it's coming. Dude, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. Dude, my life has been changed today. That's what I'm expecting. This is what he says. "Dude, did you know your fly was down the entire time?" So I look down. Not only is my fly down, it is agape. And I had worn dark jeans and white underwear, and there was no hiding it. And I mean, I went from flying as high as I could to hitting the floor. And now I'm mad. I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at God. I'm mad at this punk kid. And I'm mad at all of you kids, right? So I look back at this kid. And I look at him and I'm like, hey. And I'm trying to be nice. Because I mean, look, I know this is my fault. But I'm still mad at him. And I'm mad at all of them. Yeah. And I'm mad at my friend who let me get on stage without telling me.
I'd be mad too.
Dude, your fly's down. So I look at this kid and I'm like, but again, I say it because I want an answer from any of these kids. I don't just want it from him. I'll take an answer from any of them. I just want an answer. why didn't you tell me my fly was down when I first got up there? And this assumingly very smart, educated young man looks at me dead straight in the eye, no smile, and says, well, I thought you were going to use it as an illustration.
Come on.
I spent 6 hours, and I'm not kidding. I spent 6 hours crying my eyes out. Not funny, bawling. I mean, I'm at the lowest point of my life because I thought.
That's sad, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It was sad, and I was sad. But it was a lesson I'll never forget, and it was a lesson about the value of someone being honest with you, the value of someone correcting you, the value of, because what would have been embarrassing? Was it embarrassing if my friend who invited me had caught me and said, hey, zip up? Yes, that's happened other times in my life. It's not fun. You feel like an idiot. Yeah. Let me tell you what makes you feel more like an idiot. Doing it in front of 200 teenagers, right? Who now you realize, oh, that's why they were hanging on my every word. That's why they were on the edge of their seat. That's why they were smiling. Because I look like an idiot. So I spent 6 hours driving from Beckley back to Lexington, and I was bawling my eyes. I mean, I was crying so hard. And then it dawned on me. You got arrogant. And the Bible's clear about this. God gives us a chance over and over, and He speaks to it. I think it's in Psalms 122, maybe 121. It's definitely in James chapter 4, where He says, humble yourself. That's our opportunity. That's our action. It's what we're supposed to do. Because what happens, and the Bible doesn't say this, but I think it implies this, and I know this is how it's worked out in my life. Right. Because if you don't humble yourself, God's going to come humiliate you.
Yeah, He'll humble you.
He will humiliate you. Because here's the deal. He can't use you arrogant. He can't. Because arrogance repels people from you. Humility draws people to you. And when you are humble enough, when you're self-deprecating enough, you can be confident and still humble. And when those people are drawn to you, in my world, you can show them Jesus. If they're repelled by you, how are they going to listen to you? Yeah. I learned that lesson from Rick Pitino. I learned the value of that. I'd like to say I learned it from reading the Bible. And it was reiterated in the Bible. I'm like, oh, this is Coach Pitino's wisdom. But I learned it from him saying, dude, don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to how I'm saying it. Just listen to what I'm saying. Because I'm not telling you this because I hate you. That's how you feel. I'm telling you this because I want you to be better.
I love that. Behind the camera guy, in the ministry, champion. I mean, there's so many labels that I can attach you to, man. But I'm trying to figure out who you are at the core. So, like, I ask this question to all my guests. Yeah. It's one of my favorite questions. Okay. Like, who is Cameron Mills without all of that? Like, who are you at your core?
A sinner in need of salvation by Jesus Christ.
Okay.
That's what I am.
I respect that.
I mean, I can live in a nice house. I can be married to an incredible woman. I can have 2 incredible parents. I can have 2 amazing dogs, though one of them's sick, and wants to interrupt the interview. Shout
out to Henry.
Shout out to Henry, yeah, and Jonah, who hopefully is asleep right now. Look, I've lived a blessed life. I have, and we just went over all the ways that I have been blessed. Yeah. But the thing is, and I know this more so than I think I know anything. The things you and I have talked about today are the things that people know about me or might know about me, or the things that I'm known for.
Right.
And they are good things, right? They're positive things. What Susan knows about me, what my parents know about me, they know some dark stuff.
Yeah.
They know the truth.
Exactly.
I can put on a brave and bold face, and I can present myself a certain way. But the closest people to me, and this is truly the reality of every person, we all have that part of us. And I go back to my and Susan's first date where we were trying to repel each other. I'm like, you think that's bad? Let me tell you what I got. It got to the point with Susan where I'm like, okay, because I'd been married before and it didn't work out, and it didn't work out very quickly. And I just didn't go searching. I mean, I did and I didn't. Looking for another wife or another relationship. Yeah. I did and I didn't. But But I met Susan, when I fell in love with Susan, that was the scary part, because I'm like, okay, when's the coin gonna turn? When because that's what happened in my marriage is, and I'm not blaming my ex-wife, it's just as much my fault. But at some point, when you live with someone, when you're married to someone, the true you comes out. And so the value of mine, Susan's first date, of like, we got it all out on the table. It was all out there because we were trying to chase you. You don't want to bother. You don't want anything to do with me. She's like, yeah, let me tell you why you don't do it with me. So we got it all out on the table, and we both walked away apparently thinking,
I can do that.
That's it.
Yeah, I can do that.
But the truth is, those things are not good things, and those are things that I believe that separate me and her from God. And the only way to bridge that separation, I believe, is the blood of Jesus Christ. So who I am without all that stuff is I'm a sinner in desperate need of salvation. That's who I am.
Thank you for breaking that down for me. No, seriously. I appreciate that. 2023 is just almost finished. We're ready to get into 2024, Cameron. What's next? You're on What's Next podcast. You know, what's coming up next in 2024? What you looking forward to, my man? Whole new year.
So here's a weird thing that Susan and I talk about all the time, and I think it frustrates her. So my dreams in my life, I had two big ones. Wanted to play Kentucky. Accomplished that by honestly 18, but completed it by 22.
Right.
And then I wanted to be in full-time ministry. Started that in 22, and I'm still doing it today. So I'm 48. And I don't want this to sound arrogant or cocky, but this is what I believe. I accomplished the dreams I had in my life. It's not that I didn't want to play in the NBA. When I got to the UK, I knew I was going to play in the NBA because I'm looking at the guys that did, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I can't play with these guys. Yeah. So I don't have any big dreams. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't things I want to do. Like what I'm doing with the UK network. I've wanted this job for 25 years. Because again, to me, it was the ultimate, the ultimate on radio, even though I've done a little TV recently, but on radio, talking about basketball, it's kind of silently something I've wanted for a long time. So that just happened. But as far as like what's next, here's what I want to do. I want to see that blonde girl in there that you met on the show that I've been married to for 3 years. I want to see her dreams come true. Man. Because she's still got dreams. She's got her books, which to me are groundbreaking and amazing and brilliant, and the idea is brilliant. I feel like every dream that I've wanted to accomplish, and I'm not saying there won't be some in the future, maybe there will, but I've accomplished in my life the things I wanted to accomplish. Yeah. But I want to see Susan's dreams come true because she's got dreams for her books, and I look at her books. I remember the first time when we were dating, when she showed me her first. She had written 3 of them. Oh, wow. The first 3 that she's now published. Yeah. And I'm like, these are brilliant. And look, they're children's books. But when you sit back and you think about where we are in this world today, where we're talking about inclusivity, and we're talking about equity, and we're talking about all these things that matter. And then you think about, okay, well, inclusivity and equity doesn't just mean race. It doesn't just mean poverty or who's rich or who's not. It doesn't just mean who's educated, who's not. It doesn't just mean, it means taking those who are differently abled and including them. And so when you take, for example, my stepson, Alex, Susan's son, who's on the autism spectrum and is 10 years old. Yeah. The brilliance of Susan's books, and she's the one that coined this phrase, and this is when I thought, oh, you're so much smarter than I am. She denies it. She's so much smarter than I am. And she said she wants her books to be a mirror and a window. And then when she described it, because I was like, what do you mean? And she described it, I'm like, you are a genius. Because she said, the books, the reason the books exist, she goes, I want them to be, for Alex, I want them to be a mirror. I want Alex to see that the things he struggles with, the things that make him special, the things that make him different, the things that make him, because I never forget one day that Susan and I were married, Alex came home from school, And he's 10 years old. He's got autism, and you sit there and wonder, does he know he has autism? And that's a question I don't even know if Susan knows the answer to. But Alex came home one day and he said, "Why am I different?" And so Susan and I cried ourselves to sleep that night, because we're like, so he knows he's different. So the point of the dinosaur books that have each of the dinosaurs, and there's going to be 26 of them, one for every letter in the alphabet, and each one is going to have a special need. And the first three, we've got Stella, the sweet spunky stegosaurus, who's nonverbal, which a lot of kids that are autistic or on the autism spectrum are nonverbal, can't speak. So Stella wants a friend, so she learns how to make a friend without using her words. And then you got Alex, the Allosaurus, and he learns how he's got anxiety. Well, shoot, that's one I think we probably, especially after COVID, we can all identify with. But he uses his anxiety. He finds that ripping up paper alleviates to some extent his anxiety. And then one of his friends, I think it's Hadra the Halosaurus, Susan knows these dinosaurs better than I do, shows him or helps him take the shreds of the paper that he's ripped up to alleviate his anxiety and build it into these artistic collages. So a gift he didn't even know he had. And then, and I'm blanking on the third one that's been published. She's now working on her fourth one, which is about food allergies. Which, would you think of that as a special need? I wouldn't have, but it is.
I didn't even know.
So anyway, so she talks about the mirror in the window, and the mirror is for kids, adults who have a special need or are differently abled, especially for kids though, to see themselves in these dinosaurs and to think, maybe I'm different, but here's someone just like me, or maybe I'm not different, but it's awesome. And I think this is the more important thing. It's a window because it's for Alex's classmates to see that the way Alex might act, where's a dinosaur that acts the same way, and here's why. And the brilliant thing about Susan's books is she never mentions the word autism. She never mentions the word food allergies. She never mentions the word anxiety. She shows the symptoms. She doesn't label them. And so the kids can see themselves. And the funny thing, since we've been married, I've almost, and I'm not joking about this, I'm not trying to make light of it, I think I'm on the spectrum. There are things that I do that I see myself in Alex. I'm like, I do that. And Susan's looking at me like, I know. I got one as a son and one as a husband. I got to live with two of you. And I'm like, baby, I'm sorry. Yeah. And she laughs it off. But I want her books to explode. Because that's so...
I didn't know that about Susan. I didn't know she was...
You didn't know about her books?
No.
You're going to leave here with 3 of them tonight.
I would love some, yeah.
And you will too. We got a whole bunch in the garage, and you can get them on Amazon. Anybody want? You can get them on Amazon. Look up Susan Mills. Look up Stella, the sweet and sexy. Do not look that up. The sweet and spunky stegosaurus. Just you edit that part out. I'm not sure where that came from. I've never found a stegosaurus sexy in my life. Okay, and I was into paleontology when I was 5 years old. But anyway, I want Susan is so passionate about her books. I mean, that tablet right there, that XP pen, that's where she draws her books. And I mean, she just to sit here while she's got paintings downstairs that blow my mind. And so the only thing I can take as I had something to do with this is that she showed me her text of the first 3 books, and then she was like, I need an illustrator. I just need an illustrator. Well, then during COVID, we all needed something else to do because we were stuck at home. So she started painting. Okay. And then I'm looking at her painting, I'm like, baby, why aren't you illustrating your books? And so she started doing it. Which probably in the long run saved a lot of money. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, what's next for me is, I'm not saying I don't have dreams and I don't have other things I want to accomplish, but I do. And I'm not trying to be super husband here, but I just want, she's on a mission.
That's so cool. Man.
And and her mission is so worthwhile. Because it's not about her. So cool. It's about kids like Alex, and it's about kids and it's not just on the spectrum. It's about kids that when I was in school were in the special needs class, which means they were isolated, and you would see them in school, different lunch table.
You look at them different. Yeah.
Now these days, they're in the class. Alex, he's smarter than I am. he doesn't communicate great.
Yes.
And he's got, and along with autism, there's some social interaction issues. He doesn't understand a lot of things. He asks the question why 1,000 times, and it's never because, with attitude. It's genuinely, well, explain it to me. Why? Why do we have to do this? And so her mission is, well, it's the reason she's got her nonprofit My Autism Tribe. Because it's not just about her. Alex, as an example, every kid, every person that has a special need or something that they struggle in, they need a group of people around them to support them, to stand them up, to be there for them, and in Susan's words, to be their voice. And I look at that and I'm like, I'm behind you, babe. Let's go.
That's amazing.
She's amazing.
I gotta have her on.
Yes, you do. I'm sitting here the entire time thinking, too, what are you talking about? We're talking about this nonsense up here, which I love. It's nonsense when you talk about what really matters.
You guys are both great. And that book, you definitely got to get that to me because
I will walk in the garage. Actually, I'll wake her up. She's asleep. I'll tell her, hey, they want a copy of your books.
I want to learn more about just the autistic world, and how that works. I used to work with autistic
kids.
Did
you really?
Yeah, I was a paraeducator at one point. So yeah.
Yeah, it is a. You know what the scary thing is, and this is something Susan's taught me because we've been traveling around with her books, going to schools, reading them to first, second, kindergarten age kids. Right now in this country, and I believe I'm correct, and I'll double check with Susan tonight, but I believe it's 1 in 26 boys are diagnosed with autism, and 1 in 37 girls are diagnosed with autism. Now you can make the cases: are they diagnosed more often than they used to be because we know more, or is there more cases of it? Right? Either way, we have a problem in this country where to get a diagnosis, and you can't get the help you need until you get the diagnosis. To get a diagnosis can take 2 or 3 years, and those years, Alex got diagnosed when he was 2.5, 2. Immediately speech therapy, immediately ABA therapy, immediately started working as a 2-year-old. If Alex didn't have those things, I feel like it's fair to say, and I feel like Susan would say this, that he may not be able to speak today at 10 years old. But because Susan fought like a beast to make sure, I mean, she was every doctor and psychiatrist's worst nightmare because she would not, and every insurance. It is, and I didn't used to be like that, but then I'm watching. She is mean because here's the thing, she's a tiger mom. She will fight for that cub. She will fight for it. Because the thing is when, and again, something else she taught me, especially when it comes to autism, as dads, and I'm not a dad, I'm a stepdad. I'm not a dad, but when you have a child and that child gets diagnosed with something like autism, doesn't just have to be autism, something like autism, where they're not going to be the quote unquote normal child that you wanted to have. Two things happen. The dads tend to go into denial. The moms are knocked down and knocked out for 24 hours. And then they pop up like Mike Tyson and go to war. And that's what she's doing.
Man, I tip my hat off to her.
You should.
She's counting.
I can't believe she married me. I really can't. I can't.
You're not so bad yourself, man. You ain't so bad.
When you talk to her, you're gonna say the same thing. What did you marry him for? I don't know if she can answer it, but she did.
Man, it's been a pleasure, man.
You too, man.
Just having this conversation with you. I could sit down here. I could chat with you. I feel like I could ask you anything really because you're open. You're open book. So I just, like I said, I want to thank you for coming on, man. Cameron, it's been a pleasure.
Welcome, man.
I'm looking forward to hearing you on the radio. See you do some more games.
Yeah, hope so. Hope I get better.
You will, of course you will.
It's one of those things. The more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah, of course. Practice. You know how that goes. Pitino treat. He got you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He taught me.
He taught you, man. But
doesn't matter now. Now the rest of your life, you take coaching. You be coachable.
Ladies and gents, Cameron Mills. What's Next podcast. Like and subscribe. Hit the comments if you want. If you have anything to say. If you like this episode, hit the comments. Let us know your thoughts. We appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome, man.
Stay tuned
Thank
for
you
the
for
next
having me.
episode. That's what we got. That's all we got for today, ladies and gents.